bi-monthly precious metals market update. There's no real new questions out there, but just a quick remembrance and review of where we stand. We've started after last year, 2022. We watched gold and silver, and only two investments that went up. I'm not talking about an isolated stock, an index. Gold went up 1.5 and silver a little over 1. But the stock indices went down 9 for the Dow, and then the NASDAQ and S&P 500 were 18 and 28% down in 1 year. So there's a 30% difference, and 20% difference, and 10% difference, gold in the three major indices of the stock market. You look right this moment, and I'll look at the indicators and say this year could be that bad or worse of the stock market and in favor of the gold market. I just can't imagine being a better time with all the central banks now allowed to buy gold and count it as a Tier 1 investment in Basel III agreement, which gives them the right to count their gold at spot price and market value rather than have to take a big haircut like they do on real estate and stocks when they have to put them in the financial statement. So we see that continuing. It's just what percentage do you want in gold and how quick you get in it. It fell this past week down to around 1,800. Now it's back to 1,850 just in 2 days. So we look at it and know it's going to go back to at least its all-time high of 2,070 that has been in the last 8 months. So it's not a time to wait. It's a time to up your percentage if you believe, like I do, that inflation is not getting under control. There's no way under control. In fact, it's really worse than it was because they've changed some of the items they track that haven't gone up as much as others, which gives you a distorted view. But the bottom line is inflation. Just go to the grocery store, get on the airplane, go out to eat, do anything, and you'll see inflation is just really starting. We may not quite get to double digit, but if it stays 6, 7, 8%, it's going to wipe the middle class out anyway. So look for inflation to increase and continue. Look at brokerage firms, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. They have fired over 14,000 employees just in the last few months. All those people service clients like you. They service your accounts in the stocks and bonds, and it's not there. And it's not getting any better because the group under us aren't investing in stocks and bonds. They become in Bitcoin and all these other things they're investing in. So you got to just remember that where you stand, and just look at central banks. Just in January and February, over 1,300 total tons of gold by central banks. What do they know that you don't know? They know there's probably going to be a change in the currency, and it could be this year. Most of the people I talk to in Europe and do business with, it'll either be a Chinese yuan backed by part gold. But a bigger problem you've got in the short term is to sit and look at the petrodollar. 1974, Kissinger goes over Saudi Arabia, promises defense for them if they give us the promise of oil. Well, it gives us the right to the oil, but it also allows us to price it in dollars. Now, can you imagine the trillions of dollars that are showing up in bank accounts every day the U.S. is looking at? You could freeze the picture at any moment. The United States dollar may be very little of that, and yet they can use it. It's moving like check kiting that happened back to E.F. Hutton, back in the 80s. They're using other people's money, OPM. And that's exactly what we're seeing with the petrodollar. India is making an agreement with Russia to not buy, that they want to do it in Chinese yuan. So everything is telling you there's going to be a reset. Is it going to be some kind of new currency backed by gold that we think will happen with them over there? Or is it going to be something else? We don't know, but we do know Biden is right now in a 90-day window to look at a digital currency. He's looking at it right this minute. The digital currency would take away all your privacy. They would know everything you bought. Not that you're trying to do anything bad. It's just a complete invasion of your privacy. And this is probably one of the biggest drivers of the reason people are buying gold. They still sell the gold, pay the taxes, but they'll have the confidentiality of having it and the portability to take it anywhere in the world as the United States goes downhill in the percentage of their holdings in gold. They say they have 8,600 tons in Fort Knox, but we haven't had an audit going back to Eisenhower in the 1950s. So we don't know that. So we look at the Federal Reserve now this week, and what's the lead story? Powell, chairman of the Federal the board. He wants to talk about raising interest rates this year. Inflation is not doing anything. We're slowing it down, but it's not going down. So Powell wants to raise rates again, maybe twice this calendar year. We're already up 4%. That's what they've raised it, 4%. Now think about that. Right now we've got a deficit of $31 trillion. You take 4% extra, that's over $1 trillion of new interest. Nothing to do with bringing the debt down. That's interest. Interest. Another $1 trillion. It's got to be borrowed, and then it's got to be keep being redoing, re-socialing up. So now we see bonds racing, and then top the week off, what happens? We have the biggest spread between a 2-year Treasury note and a 10-year Treasury note in history inverted. Think about that. If you're an investor and you've got a 10-year bond, forever you've got more interest than you would on a 2-year bond. But not now. You can get a 10-year bond and only get 3.2% on it per year for 10 years. Where if you buy a 2-year bond, you can get 4.77. Think about what I've just said. It's nearly 2% more to buy the shorter term bar. We're seeing CDs pop up where I live at 4.5 to 4.75% for a year. We haven't seen rates like this in decades. I mean, this is unbelievable. And yet you sit there and not making decisions. You've got to get money out of the U.S. dollar because all these reasons I've just given you are getting ready to plaster the U.S. dollar. And we know from history, every 1% that the U.S. dollar goes down, gold goes up 3. So if it only goes down 5% rest of the year, you should make 15% in gold. Now, silver's a different story. I'll get into more of that in 2 weeks. There are things developing where finally the refineries are cutting the premium some, which is good, not because the premium's coming down, but the refineries think things are moving. So they're investing more money in inventory, and we're starting to see that start. But we'll get into more detail in that in 2 weeks. So lastly, if you're cashing out, you're a baby boomer, you're cashing out your company, you can take your 401k and make it into a self-directed IRA for both gold and silver for one, and stocks and bonds for another. So you turn one 401k, but get away because in a 401k, you cannot invest in physical gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. So you want to roll your money out, put a part that you want in gold and silver. Call Dan in my office at 800-247-2812. That's 800-247-2812, and he'll walk you through how to do that. And you can still put your stocks and bonds with another broker, or you manage them yourself, but you'll get 2 IRAs. So that's very important to us that you keep an eye on that. And for the one of you that have not talked to us yet about diamonds, they're liquid now. They're the next big hard asset investment We've been at this a little over a year. Now we're watching this grow. We're working on things right now that would substantially increase volume. And it's just an incredible time. If you haven't talked to me about XXX diamonds, give us a call at 800-247-2812, and Dan or Catherine will set you an appointment to talk to me about the diamonds, because I've been in them since the 70s and have a lot of information to share with you. We'll do some of those updates as we go through the year. But until then, if you need us, you got the number, and we'll continue to work closely and bring information to you that we think will help you. We'll continue to be a company that is of good service and great prices and fast shipping. So until next time, in a week and a half, this is Tom Cloud signing out with this bi-monthly Precious Metals Market Update.